All right, guys, so now we're in the car and I'm going to show you how I make a template to make a switch panel. So let's get started. All right, guys, so this is where we want to make our switch panel here in the center console. You can see it's not a perfect rectangle. The ends here a little bit smaller, it's a little bit bigger through the middle. It's got this edge piece here where the center console attaches to the body. It's also got these little raised fins here you can't really see. I believe those hold like cassettes or CDs or something. It looks like cassettes for sure, which is hilarious. But what I do, I need to make a template from scratch. So I take a really bright flashlight, or in this case, I have my headlamp here. This is probably gonna blind you. It's pretty bright. But once I have the light in there, I take a piece of paper, and obviously I already cut this one out, but you can just take a regular piece of paper, lay it over top, and once you've laid it over top, you can see where you need to trace it. So you just trace around it initially to get a starting point. Once you get that starting point, you just trim it down as you go. You can kind of lay it in there, see where it needs to be trimmed up at, and just try to clean it up as best you can. I usually try to make this just a little bit smaller. You can kind of see it's a little bit smaller than the next template, which is made out of cardboard. That way when I trace around this, on the cardboard fits tighter than this. And same with when we transfer that to the final material. So next I'll show you the cardboard section here. So once you have this cut out, you'll go ahead and mark where you want your switches. And obviously these are not screwed in, they're just kind of sitting in there and flopping around. But easy way to do that is just find center. In this case, I have 3 switches, and I kind of base it off this in case we want to add another one. But you just do the distance divided by 4 because you have space in between and on each end of the switch. So you got to account for that. Once you do that, you go ahead and mark them off, drill your holes, get everything set. We left space for a cell phone here. Maybe we'll do like a wireless charger, some sort of charging port, just so that you can have something here in the center console too for that. But yeah, that's how I make my templates. We'll take this and transfer it over to final material. Usually final material will be like ABS plastic, or I think you might want to do carbon fiber, something like that. So once you do that, obviously it's final product. I'll obviously throw some sort of fasteners in there too, probably put something underneath it just to support it a little bit better too. But that's how I make my templates. Once that switch panel is done, we're going to make another one here. I know a lot of guys make these little switch panels for this section here, but we'll do the line lock button here and the 2-step button here for now. I think that's the plan. So that's what we'll have our secondary buttons. He's already got some here for a line lock. That's what that's for. And then he's got a button down here for that. So we'll switch that out for something a little bit nicer, a little bit more integrated into his dash, and I think it'll be a clean setup. All right, updates from the engine bay. Got all my coil wiring in here. I need to still finish some of the wiring since he's got the high output ignition coils. They require a signal, power, and some grounds. We got vacuum lines all done. So we got that ran from the fuel pressure regulator teed into this line here that goes into the front of the intake. And then I have another spot on the other side of the intake where we'll run a boost gauge. So that'll be the source for that. On the fuel rail, I mounted this Aeromotive gauge. So now we have a fuel pressure gauge on here. So once we get it running, we can set our base fuel pressure. And then I've been mocking up some fittings here on the 417 water manifold to see where I want to run the radiator lines. I don't know. Not 100% sold on any of the options that we have just because everything is so tight through here. If you've ever worked with 16AN, you know it's very tight, very hard to work with. you know, it doesn't turn a tight angle. So we'll have to figure that out. But yep, just made a little bit of updates. Wiring's pretty much, you know, engine bay wiring's pretty much done. All right, guys, one last update from the back of the car here. We got a battery in the car. I actually stole this one out of the Sonoma, and it fit and it works. So we're using that to test things for now. We'll get a new one in the car before it gets going. I mounted the fuse and relay box here on the inner fender. I thought this was a better spot for it after putting the battery in, the cables and everything. It was kind of tight next to the battery tray. So that's where we ended up. And waiting for some wiring stuff to show up. Once I get that, I'll be able to do some wiring on this. But that's the update for today. Make sure you subscribe. If you have any questions, anything you want to leave a comment below, feel free to do so. And we'll see you on the next one.